Yes, you guys, how you all doing this afternoon? I'm NiniFC, this is Blue Lines TV, and for the two news stories today, we're discussing the big latest updates surrounding our efforts to get Hakimi this window. For the second story, we discuss Maurizio Sarri's love affair for Loftus Cheek and his efforts to sign him on loan for Lazio this season. So I hope you guys do enjoy. We have some big stories to break down and discuss today. Now, before we get into the news, I want to give a massive shout out to OneFootball because right now, courtesy of OneFootball, there is an amazing prize that can be won by one of you lucky viewers. You have the chance to win an England national team jersey. All you guys simply have to do is download OneFootball and follow the England national team throughout Euro 2020. Now I'm going to show you guys exactly how you can enter and of course have your chance of winning. The first thing you need to do is go to the description below, click on the competition link, and as you can see on screen beside me, you must download the app if you do not have it. And if you do, make sure you copy and paste or write the first article that you see. Once you do that, state the national team that you support, fill out the rest of the details. And honestly, you guys, it really is that simple. As I said, if you want to win an England national team jersey, make sure you guys go to the description, get involved in the competition, shout out to OneFootball. And now we start with the breaking reports today, and it's time that we discuss this exciting Hakimi news. Now the reality is that this signing confirmation should be done within the next few days. We know that Inter Milan at this point in time, they have agreed personal terms already with Frankfurt's Philip Kostic, one of the best left wing backs in the Bundesliga. For me, this is an incredible signing, and of course if they have any hopes of getting that deal done, they must first sell a player, with that player obviously being Hakimi. So right now, that's one of the positive developments for today, but you guys, there is more news on top. Now reports coming out from Italy are suggesting that we are leading the race over Paris Saint-Germain for the signing of Hakimi. Now reports are saying right now that we will come in with a new effort and bid to sign Hakimi. Of course, we've had our first attempt turned down, a 56.1 million bid. Of course, you guys watched yesterday's video to get the full scoop and the full context. Of course, at this point in time, there is a 20 million euro valuation difference. And of course, reports were correct when they suggested that we had hoped to offer players as a part exchange, with those two players being offered being Emerson or Christensen. However, today you guys, we got the final confirmation around the fact that Christensen was not part of the exchange, and in fact this was Zappacosta, which makes a lot of sense. And you know, there have been numerous reports surrounding Inter's interest in both Emerson and Zappacosta. Now here's where the news does get interesting. Naturally, Inter Milan prefer cash only. However, they prefer to do business separately for either an Emerson or a Zappacosta. And you know, this makes a ton of sense, you guys. Like, a lot of times when you see deals involving a player plus money, that tends to happen only on FIFA or FM. In reality, clubs will never really agree to that because for accounting reasons, you want to have all that money on the books. Now, in the case of this final 20 million valuation, it seems like Inter Milan are more than fine with that being paid off in clauses and deals in the contracts, which is perfect news and was something I was hoping would be the case as well. Normally, player exchanges are completely separate deals. However, naturally, this does give us a major advantage over Paris Saint-Germain, with Paris Saint-Germain now turning their attentions to Emerson from Real Betis. So, you know, this is the big update of news, you guys. It seems like this deal is going to be announced soon in the next few days, in my opinion. We know that Inter Milan have to sell him soon. So expect these reports to keep escalating and escalating and escalating. So right now, before I give my thoughts and opinions, one thing that I do want to address is one final piece of information and news that came out today, and that suggests that we have already agreed personal terms with Hakimi. Now, I don't know how valid these claims are. This is news that is circulating, but the reality is in football is that terms normally get agreed upon first thing and way in advance. So this isn't really anything too crazy in that sense. This is part and standard of how this process normally works. So right now, you guys, I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions. And the first shameless plug I have to say is make sure you guys watch yesterday's videos, my Hakimi reaction videos, to get an insight behind how he plays and how he can benefit the team. And of course, listen to my thoughts and opinions behind why Tuchel would want Hakimi in the first place. You guys know that I like to go in deep. So, of course, the major benefits you get from Hakimi is that tactical flexibility for Tuchel. Now, how I see it is that Hakimi can fulfill both roles down as a left wing back and a right wing back too. And, you know, as I say all the time as well, you look at the squad structure. It's not how it used to be back in the day where you'd have like your player A and you'd have like your B tier player underneath them. Right now, due to how intense football is, clubs want to have strong competitive squads throughout. And seeing how Man City utilised their fullbacks, Mendy, Zinchenko, Cancelo and Walker as well. If you're playing over 60 games plus a season, for me, I think Hakimi easily adds to that quality. Hakimi, James, Chilwell, and who knows, Alonso or even Livramento, we do not know at this point in time. I think when and if the signing gets done, not only will we have some of the best wide players, wide defenders in Europe, but I think if you saw a lineup involving him and Reece James, that's one of the strongest ones in the league and in Europe as well. Now, one thing that I really want to say, because I'm not here to just do hype, I need to be realistic to you guys. I still can't help but feeling like this is a case of diminishing returns, because, you guys need to watch my reaction video yesterday. You'll see for yourselves the amount of times that Hakimi personally assisted Lukaku throughout last season. And for me, if we don't have strikers that can take advantage of the assists, then it's an absolute waste of time. You look at Reece James, and let's not pretend that Hakimi's chance creation is on a different level, because if James had the fortune of having strikers that buried their chances and took advantage of the chances he created, we'd be seeing him completely different. His stats would be right up there. And for me, does Hakimi necessarily solve anything with our attack? Of course not. But of course, it's not exclusively just down to that. Of course, it's the strong competitive squads. Now, for me, I'm not going to sit here and say that Hakimi is guaranteed his place over Ben or Reece James. As I'm stressing, teams want to have competition in all wide areas. For example, look at Alphonso Davies at Bayern Munich. You'd assume that this guy would be playing week in, week out. However, we saw Hernandez playing a lot of games at the end of the season. That's how it works at the big clubs. And for me, I think Hakimi adds and makes this team and squad even stronger. Considering our current squad level is probably right here, if we sign players like him and others, it boosts the quality throughout the team a lot higher, you guys. The reality now, though, is that it seems like we are the favourites to sign him. It's exciting news, of course, but if we can splash 70 million on Hakimi, then I'm sorry, there's no excuses to not sign Haaland this summer. We must sign him. We need a striker to bury the chances. We have to get it. Otherwise, it kind of diminishes everything in the team. So, you guys have my thoughts and opinions, of course, comments below as well. But now, you guys, we end things with the final big story today, and that's further updated news surrounding Lazio's efforts for Loftus Cheek. Now, at this point in time, Lazio, Sarri, that is a thing. Sarri is going to be their manager. And reports in Italy are suggesting that Sarri sees Loftus Cheek as his dream signing to make this summer. Ruben hasn't left Sarri's mind, and Sarri naturally would play a key part in the loan signing of Ruben. Now, what was quite interesting about the report surrounding the story was that we got some insight, some secret news that none of us really knew, and that was the fact that maybe a few seasons prior, Loftus Cheek actually travelled to Lazio, of course holding meetings over a potential loan move back in the day. And this is something that happens all the time. Let's not forget that before Mason Mount signed with Frank Lampard at Derby, him and his dad travelled to Werder Bremen Stadium, went to their training ground to just get a feel and vibe of things before, of course, deciding against the move. Now, on top of this news suggests that Sarri and Lazio are also looking at Kepa on loan as well, but for me, this kind of sounds like nonsense in my opinion. Last season, Sokosha actually had a knee injury, that's why he didn't play as much, meaning that Pepe Reina got significant game time last seasons. Now that Sokosha is back, I can't see Lazio, a club that used to have terrible finances, used to be in a terrible position, making similar mistakes like that, paying for 3 goalkeepers and bringing back Kepa when they already have that cover already. So for me, that's kind of a non-story. But let's focus on these Ruben links, which are picking up more steam now. Now, reports are suggesting that before Ruben commits to anything, he has to speak to Tuchel. He has to speak to him first, that's only fair. And I think once we find out the plans, then I guess we'll understand what's going to happen with the story. Anyway, you guys, I do want to give my thoughts and opinions behind this news, and is there a possibility now that Sarri could be what Ruben needs to, refine his form? His incredible form back in that 18-19 season. As you guys can see on screen, there were his stats that season, and one thing immediately too, and I'm stressing this all the time, Ruben's best position is playing as a midfield player, as a box-to-box mid. He's in the same family as Yaya Toure, and yes, I understand that there's lots of defensive responsibilities certain players need to have, but Are you going to tell me that if Yaya Toure wasn't, pressing from the front and defending like crazy, that you wouldn't play him? I mean, of course not. He was one of the greatest midfield players in the Premier League for how many years? And, when you see the stats on screen, the output that Ruben got playing as a CM in 31 games, 9 goals and 5 assists, that's an incredible record. And playing under Sarri with Lazio, with reports suggesting that Lazio are looking to play 4-3-3, looking to play 4-3-1-2. Ruben could refine his best position, and hopefully Sarri can help him refine his best form. I mean, I can imagine it. Milinkovic-Savic and Ruben in the same midfield. Not only do they complement each other as well, with Milinkovic being that more supportive midfield player, but Ruben having that license to do what he does best, receiving on that left channel, receiving on the half turn, driving at opponents, and of course that goal threat he brings through. If you're going to use someone like this out of position at Fulham, you can't be surprised if his form and output ain't going to be the same. And for me, when you play for clubs like Fulham, like imagine they had like Iniesta or De Bruyne, are they going to single-handedly keep that club up? No, because the players around them ain't going to profit from that at all. So, this is definitely interesting news. Let's see what happens. Ideally, I'd still like to see him being given pre-season, but at the same time, the opportunity to work under a manager that really appreciates players he already knows. That could be what he needs to really regain his best form and, really cement to the rest of Europe and at the club that this is my best position. So, if I'm Ruben, there's definitely a ton to think about. Of course, you guys, on that note, I'm going to wrap things up and keep things moving. Now, for you guys, I want you to comment below, and it's just more of a fun one, nothing too deep. If you had to decide between Hakimi or Reece James, who would you say is the better player? I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lions TV. I'll see you guys later with some more content. Cool.